Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello everyone, this is Keyon, the Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. My guy here.
Yes, sir.
This is monumental.
Absolutely.
I got him in here for episode 100.
Man, congratulations. Man.
I appreciate that.
Clap it up. We're going to clap it up.
Don't nobody know what happened to episodes 0 through 95. All they know is what's happened since you've been here.
No, hey, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that for sure. But I'm glad to be a part. You know, when you accomplish 100 of anything, it's a big deal. And what I like is the bottom line is you've been consistent.
Yeah.
Regardless, rain, sleet, or snow, you've been consistent.
Consistent of doing what? I don't know, but I've been consistent.
Man, come on.
I've been consistent of something, but I don't know what the hell I've been consistent of. But the routine is been great. I'm glad we were able to create a routine to where we weren't like, hey, well, let's try it now. It was like, no, let's figure it out, a day and time, and then that's going to be the day and time. So it's worked great. Maybe at some point I have the best hits of the all-star lineup or something.
Yes, sir.
I have no idea what that'll consist of, but we can look at that. So with that said, I hope everybody's doing well. Looking at landscape of the world, things going on, devastation over in Central Texas and now in Rio Doso, which is just up the road from us. Let's send out one for everyone. Let's try to work together and help. And I mean, I'm hoping that people that are missing are found. Maybe they didn't know that these people were able to get out. It was horrible, and it was really bad, man. So I don't want to dwell on that, but I just it was kind of on my brain to bring it up. So for all the people trying to help, volunteers and rescuers and stuff, strength to you, sending y'all all my strength, and hoping that we can get some good outcomes with what happened. So
absolutely.
How was your weekend, man?
Man, weekend was busy for sure. I'm at a certain time where, hey, I'm gonna have to assist more with my parents, and that's what's been my life's changed a lot, and that drastically in that space. But it's been a blessing because got to spend a little bit more time and hear some stories that I hadn't heard before, and also do some cleaning I don't really intended on doing. But it's all been a blessing. This weekend for me, especially with the things that have been happening in the landscape, especially of Texas and New Mexico. Appreciation, man. Just really starting to be really appreciative for the small things.
Yeah,
and that's what I've learned.
You moving up the ladder too, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. I rarely climb ladders. I'm scared of heights. I don't know what this guy's talking about. You when you walked in the door, the last few times you walked in when you came in, there was a different aura and a different swag about how you walked in, as opposed to how you would walk in before, and it was like it was cool, but now there's a different aura. I wonder what that aura is from. Well, Time to Ball podcast, number one. Man, Time to Ball podcast.
Big time. Hey, man, I need a job, man.
This guy.
I need a job, man. Hit me up with a job, dog.
This guy. Listen, I have no means of hiring anybody. Do not listen to this guy, man.
I ain't gonna say what it is. I'll let him share it if he want to share it. But your boy, I want some. Some incentives and stuff, man. Do I need an agent to talk to your people?
This guy, man, do not listen to this guy. I don't know what he's talking about. No.
Hey, well, without further ado, let's jump into things that interest us.
Oh man.
So the first topic, I consume a lot of stuff, and it's never because I'm gonna look at what they're doing and I'm gonna talk about it. It's always I'm trying to learn and keep my ear to the streets, as they say, and just listen, because I enjoy other stuff. So like when I'm listening to other people's podcasts, you know, I'm listening because I want to hear the unique perspectives that they talk about. And then sometimes you find out things that you kind of suspected, you know, but you didn't hear the concrete evidence about it, right? So Gilbert Arenas has his own podcast. It's pretty popular.
Absolutely.
And he had Keyon Martin, right? And Keyon Martin was, they were discussing coaches. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole thing. Keyon Martin had an issue with George Karl. George Karl was the head coach at Denver at one time. He was the head coach at Milwaukee at one time. He was also the head coach at Seattle Supersonics at one time. Now, he might have been at some other ones, but those were the main prominent places that I can remember off the top of my head. And his coaching style was kind of unique and different with how he coached, right? Keyon Martin had issue because Keyon Martin talked about how, you know, he was trying to rest his body to be ready for the playoffs. And then, and I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, it's out there. You can actually go to the podcast and listen to that actual excerpt. Keyon Martin was talking about how George Karl, like, all of a sudden wasn't playing him. And Keyon Martin, he from the house. He from Dallas, right? Go figure. Whoop ass country, right? So he was upset and he wanted to go at George Karl, right? So you say to yourself, damn, that's crazy. That's kind of an isolated incident. Keyon Martin's a different dude. Maybe Keyon looked at it different, right? Well, Carmelo Anthony has his own podcast. And just so happened within 3 days of me listening to that, I was listening to Carmelo. He was talking about George Karl. And he was talking about how George Karl told him that he was he wasn't a really good player, you know, and that he was gonna strip him down and build him up to be the type of player he needed to be. And Carmelo took offense to it, right? So Carmelo starts mentioning other players that had contacted him, and Keyon Martin mentioned other players. So this picture starts to be brought up of how George Karl's coaching style is. Carmelo says it kind of comes back to the fact that George Karl played with George Gervin, Iceman Gervin, and Gervin never passed him the ball, right? He didn't like the fact so that he didn't get the ball. So Karl apparently has issues with superstars. He doesn't like superstars. So apparently there was tension with him, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp. There was tension with him with Sam Cassell over in Milwaukee, at least. And then over there with the Nuggets, it's him. Now, I went through all of this. What I want to understand is, why is it that a coach will have a preconceived ideal about somebody and not give that player a fair shake or opportunity? Now, I know NBA is business as well as playing, right? But why do some coaches do that? You come in with your baggage and your thought process and you say, no, it's my way or the highway. And then because of that, if players don't get in line, you kind of dismiss them.
For me, just a little bit more specificity as far as George Karl. It wasn't even players not getting in line. It was that he had an experience when he played, and that was still eating him alive each and every day. And in his mind, subconsciously, he vowed to anybody that were deemed a rising star, he was gonna ensure that he took shots at them, that he really put out negative connotations that would drop their stock as far as who they were as a person, who they were as a player. And there is a high school coach, since retired, was kind of that same, in that same light. You know, he played on the, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. First time I'm saying it. He played on the 1966 championship team with Texas Western.
Right.
And UTEP. So, you know, when Bobby Joe Hill and, you know, Mr. Cager and all those players came in, Neville Shedd and all those guys who I personally knew. You know, I was great friends with Bobby Joe Hill and our family.
Right.
They took his spot.
Right.
And so he was, you know, confined to the bench. So once he started coaching in this high school space, he didn't like players that played similar to them. Like if you were athletic, if you were, you know, he deemed you as not smart enough. And I witnessed this myself as far as hearing them when I was in that space. No, he told one player, I don't want you in my gym because you're not smart enough to play here.
Right.
Just because that player was athletic and really did some things that it was gifts, you know.
Right.
So he had in his mind that he was gonna make those type of players miserable.
Right.
And so, and I'll say this last on George Karl, like he wrote a book and it was so damaging to the players that he coached.
Yeah.
You know, those players, I see it this way, probably how you see it. The players made him.
Right.
And he's in the Hall of Fame because of those players.
Right.
And I believe George Karl is a great coach. I really do. I believe he's a great coach. But I think the one thing he forgot is this thing is about relationships.
Right. And sometimes I think you have to distinguish between X's and O's.
Yes, sir.
And personality and character.
I like that.
And
absolutely.
I think his X's and O's, his will to coach and stuff had to be, you know, had to be high because he was in the league as a head coach for a long time. He's in the Hall of Fame and stuff. But personality and character were very low. My issue with it, and Carmelo even mentions the book thing. He talks about how he went up to George Karl and was like, yo, like, you know, what the blank is wrong with you?
Right.
With all of this. And it was kind of oh man, you know what, that's just a book. I don't think of you like that. And it's like, yeah, but you put that out
to the world.
So it's almost like you were playing a character to sell books, right? My biggest question and my biggest issue is you can destroy it. And here's what I got from it. We talk about on the youth level, on the high school level, and sometimes even on the college level, that coaches can be really asses with how they are, their personality.
Yeah.
But then you get to the NBA and you figure, well, that doesn't happen up there because but it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's happening there, it's happening in the high school level. And to your point about that coach, won't say no name.
Right.
I know who you're speaking of. I great person to me.
Me
right?
too.
Yeah, great person to me.
I love them.
But when I saw the games, there was one game where this high school coach was coaching, and I remember a player, they were running the play, and when they ran the play, it was a lot of passing and cutting, right? Which is fine, right? But the ball wound up to their post player. He's about 4 feet away from the basket when he catches the ball. He doesn't even turn to face the basket or look to see if he had a shot. He passes it back out. Everybody's like, why didn't you shoot it? He gets the ball again, same situation. There's nobody actually, the first time he got it, it was like, I don't think he knew that nobody was guarding him. The second time he turned, nobody was guarding him, he passed it out. It blew my mind, like, why don't you shoot? I started to understand with how some coaching philosophies are here in the city, that it was, pass. No, we're going to have, these two guys are going to be our shooters. I totally disagree with that because I feel everyone has to be a threat on the floor. If that person isn't a threat on the floor, if he doesn't bring value in some form, if he can't turn and make a power, dribble into a layup 4 to 5 feet away from the basket, why is he still on the floor? Right? You say, oh, well, he rebounds. Okay, so let's say he gets offensive rebound. Is he allowed to offensive rebound and put, or is he going to offensive rebound and pass? So the coaching philosophies that I've understood from high school to pro, you think it changes because of the level, but you still have the character and the personality of their coach.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like, it just seemed to me, by the way, fantastic coach. This high school coach. Listen, I gained his respect when I went into his gym because I was coaching at a nearby high school. At the time, I went into his gym, and we were playing open gym back when I could move a little bit better. So he was watching me play, and after the game, we won, and he's like, "Hey, coach, let me talk to you. You're not from a style like this. How'd you learn to play like this?" I said, I took pride in myself in learning how to play wherever I was.
Right.
Like if it was up tempo or it was, pass, screen, cut. Like I just, I told him my philosophy is if you're a basketball player, you can play any style, anywhere. So he began to really change. I'm not saying I changed his ideology of how he thought, but he just began to change of what he thought, about me and kind of the school that I came from.
Right.
And so I think it takes a lot of coaches, a lot of people, period, time to get over that hurt.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It just really hurt.
It's bothersome because I too remember playing in open gym there, and I wasn't doing a lot of passing and cut. I was with Twan, me and Antoine.
Oh boy,
we were over there playing.
Y'all were cooking.
And we would purposely get on opposite teams and not guard each other. So and I remember like all of the coaches were like, well, this coach, the head coach, was guarding me at one, and I was like, man, I passed it. Like, man, I'm not gonna do that to him.
Right.
Then I'm like, no, why they like, why? And I was like, all right. I just hit him with a simple, step cross. He flies over this way. I get the layup, and I feel bad, right? I feel bad. The other coaches who were younger was like, no, I'll get him, and I was like, oh, okay, I can really go at them. Right. And it was like Shaq said, it was barbecue chicken. After that, I'm thinking they're not gonna want us to come. They're gonna be, but they were so appreciative. Like we weren't like ball hogging. We were passing.
Just playing.
We were playing
different style.
When we had something that I could take advantage of, I took advantage. Right. But I was still, screening and stuff like that. They was like, man, you know what? You guys are exceptional. Like, your ball handling, your vision, all of that. So like that was my first experience with this coach, right? So then as later years I watched the coach, coaching, it wasn't kind of adding up with what we experienced and talked to versus where they coach.
Right.
There are a lot of coaches like that, not just in the high school level, but all levels. And my ploy to y'all is you have to do better. I'm not saying everybody has to play. I'm not saying everybody has to shoot. But when there were games where I watched this team where people were purposely not guarding certain people.
Yeah.
They were overloading on other people because they knew that this person wasn't allowed to shoot.
Yeah.
Not that he couldn't shoot, he wasn't allowed to shoot.
Yeah.
And it caused such disruption, they still, and it's like, well, great coach, they still won a lot of games. But when you started to play elite competition, that's when there was a lot of struggle, right? And I just feel, and you'll have to really sit me down and explain to me why some guys can't take shots in certain situations. The ball movement is great. And it's funny because as much as I hear about ball movement, like how many teams do you see winning on the highest level of wherever they are, high school, college, and pros, where it's extensive ball movement. No, it's ball, but you got to have guys that can get shots. It's got to be a combination, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And you know what? I would be completely fraudulent if I didn't explain that I really took a lot of things from this particular coach.
Right.
I really did. I took a lot from him. I love the passing, screening, and moving, but I also love the dynamic play, like getting to the basket and like you said, being a threat. Okay, and so I know this coach particularly well. His mindset was, if you hadn't worked on that shot during the week, you're not taking it in the game.
And look,
but a layup, you got to take a layup.
And I 100% agree with that. I wouldn't want my players to be doing things that I clearly know they haven't been worked on, right? But to me, a coach, and this is my opinion, but I know I'm looking at it through a developer's eyes. Hey, this is a shot that you need to be ready to take. So I need you to work on this shot because you're going to get opportunities to score or get shots up. And I've always said, I'm not saying you got to jack 10 to 15 shots, but if you take that shot once or twice and it looks good, the defense has to really be disciplined to say, I'm not going to go out there, right?
Wow.
And at some point, you can switch things around to where you have somebody there that's going to make those shots. But it amazes me how the thought process, and I want to put this out there. I used to feel like this was a lower level thing, like you only saw this in like high school, middle school, AAU, City League.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they don't do that in college. They don't do that in the pros.
Yes, they do.
But the more that I've been a part of this, watching, talking to different people, scouts, college coaches, NBA people and stuff, the more I find out that they're the same. They're the same in college and the pros, right?
Very
now,
much so.
In the past, you didn't hear it as much. But now with all of these podcasts, everybody having a voice, you're hearing a lot about people that you thought coached a certain way, but they didn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, will it be kumbaya? No. But it bothers, it pains me because I'll have players that are on high school teams that could actually contribute. Well, I've not just in here, but like, the drill work we work on, the discussions we have about stuff, the hearing the IQ that they have, seeing them when they do play, they are productive. They just don't get, they're pulled in favor of something else. And then when you watch that something else, sometimes you're like, well, how does that make sense, right? And for a simple instance, you can ride with it. Maybe in this instance you saw it. But then when you see it against other situations and it's like, this gives you the best opportunity, why are you not utilizing it? Now you have to question it. And then I'm going to ask you this question because I've always thought you have a staff, assistant coaches and stuff. They're vital to you because they're going to be another set of eyes that see things that you might not be thinking about. And they should be able to come to you and talk to you. I don't see that as much.
Completely right. I mean, and especially high school. Like, I watch a lot of high school games. I don't see the assistant coaches saying anything, like anything at all. I see them. I'm not saying they're not doing anything.
Right.
I see them, being some people are accountable for, fouls and who's in foul trouble on that side and things of that nature. But you have, as a head coach, you've got to allow your assistants to give you feedback, even if you don't take it. They can't take it personal if you don't take it, but they've got to get you feedback. So even if you can take 10% of what they're saying and then apply it, it's just going to make you a better coach.
But how often do you think it happens where there's not even 10% taken? There's 0% taken.
Agreed.
Because then you have to look at when coaches leave. Obviously, if a coach leaves to get an opportunity to be a head coach, that's the ultimate thing, right? If you go to another school or college or NBA team, you're going because it's a better opportunity. Maybe you might still either you go to another place doing the same thing, but they promise you that they're looking to ascend you to a higher position, right? But when you just leave and other coaches leave and they're doing the same thing and there's no plan in place, it makes you wonder what is the dynamic. Like, this coach must not be listening. There's something going on for that coach not, if you have it happen where you have it over and over again. And I think in the lower levels, you tend to see that a lot where you have movement. Because to me, I would be frustrated if I'm seeing things that I know would help, but every time I bring that up, maybe not there, but maybe in talking, it's like, yeah, okay, all right, but nothing's done.
Right. It's the worst feeling because I've had it happen to me. But I still voice my opinion because I've been known to do that from time to time.
Right.
I will say this, like, there was a podcast I can't remember, but this gentleman is in the NBA. He coaches in the NBA. He played on the Sacramento Kings, guard Bobby. I can't remember his first name, but look him up. He stated that when he started coaching for the Sacramento Kings, he was a developer. Like, he worked with the athletes. He wasn't giving scouting reports.
No.
He wasn't allowed to go to meetings. So they were like asking, well, like Mike Bibby was like, well, man, what were you doing? He said, man, I was just trying to make myself valuable with the players.
Right.
The players loved him, but he didn't understand kind of what was going on. Now, since they've had some 2 or 3 coaching changes, that's changed now, I would hope, but that just shocked me.
Yeah.
And like you said, I would have never thought that would happen at the highest level of basketball. And it's not like he was a field scout or anything like that. He was a developer so why would he not be in the film room seeing? Right. To me, that was just odd.
Right, because he played at a high level when he was playing, and you figure he's going to bring value. Right? And
he was the only coach that played in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they still kept him out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A lot of it can be jealousy, inferiority. This guy may know more than me, but I'm the head coach, so I feel inferior.
Yeah.
And I think just my thoughts. I really think this is happening more because there's younger coaches now.
Right.
And they already have a complex about you don't belong. People obviously think, I don't even know who this guy is. You don't belong because they don't know your name. So, I think you, in any circle, in any level of coaching, you got to be comfortable first with who you are. I like what you talked about as far as the character piece.
Yeah.
And coaches know that you can either help somebody's life more than they've ever been helped in their life, or you can ruin their life more than you've ever ruined a kid in their life. So, especially on the girl side, like there's girls that are just leaving the sport in general because of coaches. Right. So, we have to be real careful. I'll say this, the last thing I'll say on this piece is the staff that I work with, anytime there's a timeout, we'll meet for 15 to 20 seconds. And that's their time to, discuss what they see, what they don't see. Because some coaches, have different personalities. Some are a little bit more quiet, some a little bit more shy.
Right.
However, like, I almost force them to, we want to hear your voice. You have a voice. It's important. You're on the staff. Yesterday at practice, like I told you guys a few episodes ago, Team Fusion has brought in a female coach, a young female coach who we really believe in is going to be super for our organization. So, I said, hey, tomorrow, you need to make sure you have a defense. He was like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, you're going to teach it. No. You have way more to give than you know.
Right.
So you're going to be confident. You may be stressed a little bit, but again, teach it, and it's these kids' job to understand it and execute it. If they don't execute it, doesn't mean you're a bad coach.
Right.
It's not what that means.
Right.
And so, but she did a fantastic job. She had a defense that she just put in. We have a tournament coming up this weekend, Super 64, Dallas, Texas. So we'll probably be using it because I loved it. I liked it.
Great.
And there was something I didn't like, and I'm pretty boisterous. I said no, because I don't. What's going to happen here? And our, the other coach we had there supported her.
Right.
He said, no, coach, like this can be done. I said, well, man, and I was complaining, not that I didn't like the defense,
right,
but there was a certain piece of the defense that I thought would cause us some issues.
Right.
So, man, she says, well, what I was thinking, coach, is, we'll deny here and she can cover this. I was like, we'll do it, you know. And she showed me up.
Because obviously you have to let it play out. And then maybe you could say, you know what, this part is great. Now we need to figure out, because that part is so great, but it allows weakness if we have somebody who knows what they're doing. So how do we deal with that when that situation happens?
Yes, sir.
So that's great. So
yes, sir.
Real quick, what do you think about the Jonathan Kuminga situation with the Warriors?
Jonathan Kuminga is a prime example of what we just talked about.
Right.
His career is almost being destroyed. His mindset, his psyche, who he is as a player, who he is as a person, like he almost cannot be himself.
Right.
On that team.
So let me kind of put it out there, because we know what we're talking about, but I want to make sure everybody else understands. Jonathan Kuminga plays with the Golden State Warriors. He's between he might be 6'10", 6'11" right now. The kid was still growing. He was on the Warriors when they won their last championship. He was pivotal in playoff games, in the finals. He did some things great. They had the strength in numbers. You looked at it having a new wave of strength in numbers, young talent. Mm-hmm. Since then, he hasn't really ascended the way everybody thought he was, watching his potential. Now, Steve Kerr made a statement because it's about signing him, and he's a restricted free agent. So he can, what a restricted free agent means is, I can go out if another team wants to sign me, they can put down an offer, but my team still has the last say, and they can match it, right? If they match it, then I have to stay. It's rare, but there have been some situations where restricted free agents were thrown so much money, the current team couldn't match it, so they would let it. Yeah. So it's one of those things where, why haven't you traded him? Because you're not going to play him. And why are they not going to play him? It kind of alludes to the fact that they don't think his IQ seems to match up enough with their style of play, right? And I remember, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I remember after Steph got hurt, when he was in the game, the first play of the game, he was not in position when Draymond was running the offense. Draymond had to yell at him and point for him to go where he was supposed to go. So could have been anything, but I'm like, it's the whole thing with Kerr. What has bothered me with him throughout the years is you went away from that formula, and now you're no, I only want old guys, right? You got to run this system, right? And the system works with some teams, but when you have some teams that know how to try to take away your guy and make it harder on your guy, other guys have to be ready to step up.
Yes, sir.
And that's what made them so potent, because you had Clay, you had Iguodala, you had these guys, but you're not. So I guess I'll ask this question. Is it a fault of Kuminga, or is it a fault of Kerr and the development team?
It's one thing that I learned from Pittsburgh Steelers coach.
Tomlin?
Coach Tomlin. Fantastic speaker. He said most coaches run from coaching. IQ, as far as learning where to be, what to do, that's coaching.
Right.
That is coaching. Dwayne Wade, he's on a podcast as well. He said he knew the difference from accountability teams in the NBA and non-accountability.
Right.
He said in Miami, everyone ran the play and they ran it till they got it. He said it went to the Bulls, the second unit came out and first unit ran it 10 times. Okay, we got it. Second unit came out, ran it once. He said, all right, Kim, let's move to the next spot. He was like, hey, wait, man. You got to be, they need, when they come in the game,
They need to know.
they need to know what they're doing. So I'm going to put this on Steve Kerr, period. And the reason why I say that is because how he handled JT in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that guy could not get on the floor.
Nah,
you can't tell me that.
Yeah.
So I think he has a problem coaching players that did not play like him, per se.
So do you think he's kind of in the George Karl? He's slightly in there.
He's in that space maybe because he got punched in the eye by Jordan. I have no idea.
Why you have to bring it? Hey, look.
It's true.
I know it's true, but why you got to bring up the punch?
I'm bringing up the punch to say this. He may say all the right things about Jordan on camera, but he probably hates Jordan.
Yeah, I can see him hating.
Yeah.
Him, but he respected him.
Well, he had to.
Yeah, he had to respect him.
So you see somebody, I'm not saying Jonathan Kuminga's Jordan. I'm not saying that. But he's athletic as he's, from an athlete's perspective, he's Jordan-like from in that space.
Right.
So that may cause him to have those feelings towards him.
So let me ask you, it got me to thinking. You're putting it on Kerr in the development team, right? So if you're going to have a pie, how much of that goes to coaching and coaching staff with developing, and how much of that goes to the player? Because we all know there's some guys that are just, there's some players that are just like, yeah, I don't care.
I will agree, it's case by case, but you can't tell me he doesn't know how to play because he went in playoff games and dropped 20 plus.
But see, they said that was a product of him knowing, well, I'm going to just get my points. He wasn't getting it, quote unquote, throughout the offense.
Man, look. When Steph Curry's not in the game, you don't have an offense. It's not the same.
Right.
It's just not the same. So he was reacting off instincts and what he saw, and I mean that's just what it is. The bottom line. So like if you don't have an IQ, you can't play for that many minutes.
Right.
And play that long. So there's just no way. So obviously as a player, you said the pie. For me, I'd say between 60-40, 70-30 coaches. This is a guy that you brought in. Like, obviously you like something about him.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is your whipping boy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, being that I'm a coach and I tell my players all the time, like, listen, part of you developing and getting better is part of me doing my job as well.
Right.
So when I bring you in, I'm not gonna just say, hey, look, man, you're not getting to a high level, you're not improving.
Yeah.
But I tell parents as well, hey, listen, part of what am I doing wrong and what is she doing wrong? What are we doing wrong so we can get on the right track?
Right. Now I will say, as someone who is developing, I will tell you there are those times where I can tell that some players, they don't comprehend it, right? And when that's the situation, then that pie is flipped. 70-30. Right? More players than coaching. So it's you figure when you make it to the highest level, there should be IQ enough to grasp things in simple terms and stuff. But obviously when they're lower, you got to do more and they got to get better.
I mean, you take some of the best players in the world. They don't grasp things on defense as well. They don't know help from Luka, even LeBron at times. Right? So they're in the wrong spot, like not even guarding anybody at times.
Right.
So like you can highlight 8 or 9 or 10 plays a year and be like, this is him, but show that good as well.
Yeah,
so you can make the film say what you want it to say within the clips.
If it's you can on every player you can find a few clips, but like to your point, if you find 8 to 9 clips of them doing bad, then that's 5 to 10%. That other 90 to 95%, they were doing what they were supposed to do. But in some players, it's the reverse.
But see, the thing is, when it's reverse and it's 60-40, 70-30 to the player, that player's no longer there.
Well,
you know, in your space, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes kids longer to develop, longer to get it.
I agree with that.
You know,
and I can attest to that. But like when I said, I was thinking about like Luka has not made, and I don't think he's ever going to make those strides defensively, which is odd because as good as he is offensively, you figure it would help him defensively to see and understand what they're doing and be able to combat it. So, but he's the best player, one of the best players in the world. He's not going to be benched.
No, he's not going to be benched. However, Luka, he has a mind of a machine when it comes to basketball.
On offense.
But if you have a mind on offense, you know the holes are,
Yeah.
So it should really be flipped.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I think Luka knows where to be on defense. I think he just doesn't try hard enough.
Right.
And I think you, this past year and last year, were just asking him to try.
Yeah.
And so I think part of him not trying is maybe not being in the best shape.
Right.
I think this year you'll see a different Luka, in my opinion, especially on the defensive side.
Right.
I think you'll see a much better Luka. Everyone has called him out. He's too brilliant of a basketball mind and a basketball player to not improve. So look out for Luka. He's going to be solid this year.
Okay. All right, so we're going to leave it here. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with our basketball ideology. All right, we're back with our basketball ideology. So the first thing I want to cover is layups. Now, when I'm developing, I'm often showing players how to make layups, how to have a target, focus on their target when they're shooting, not so much making the ball, but focus on hitting their target. And then if they miss, they understand it. You do it enough, you have a repetition, and then it's muscle memory getting it where it was. Now, the issue is, I think for me, is more expanding to help players understand that not every layup has to be off the backboard. So let me give you an example.
I thought you were going to get up and show, man. Basketball hoops right here.
So let's say the ball is swung to the corner.
Okay.
I get the ball and I drive baseline as opposed to driving out left. So I drive right to the baseline.
Okay.
And I'm coming up to make the layup. Now I'm coming pretty much from behind the backboard up. Now, when you're an elite player, you can finish anyway. Off the glass, straight, opposite side, reverse, all of those. But what I'm trying to show players now is when you're driving in there, your number one target is going to be the rim because they don't know how to lay it up. So in keeping with the same form that they normally shoot a regular layup, I want them to keep that same form and go over the rim. Now I'll have players and parents at time to time say, well, the coach doesn't want them shooting that type of layup. They want them always using the backboard. And what I explain to them and the players is when you're attacking from certain angles, there is no backboard, right? It's going to be harder to try to shoot it off the backboard than to just get it up over the rim. So once I show them, all you do is get the ball over your target, which is the front. Just get the ball up over it. Gravity takes care of the rest. And they become more successful. My question is, why do you think, and I'll ask you on yours, because this might be something that you do. Why do coaches teach only backboard on layups?
I can't speak for everybody else.
Okay.
But For me, it depends on who it is.
Right.
Right now, I've got about 3 or 4 players that can go from any angle and not necessarily finger roll, but like go off two feet, either a runner or a, what else am I thinking? Runner or I guess the push shot.
Yeah, push shot.
Yeah. So it just depends on who it is. Now, I have some players, honestly, that really have to use the backboard because as they get closer, and we've been talking about a lot of anxiety and and a lot of doubt. You have a lot of young ladies that come in here and they're already thinking negative.
Right.
What if this? What if that? So to me, like, it may be pretty high, but I think 85% of it is just mental.
Right.
Maybe even 90% is just mental. And so one thing that I just realized that I'm failing my players at is what you just mentioned, is showing them where the target is.
Yeah.
I think, I just expected them to know how to make a layup because they've been doing it for so long. But now I wish we had practice today because I would be going back and just breaking everything down and just let them show the target.
So I'll give you a quick thing about what I do when I'm developing layups, right?
Okay.
A lot of people say hit the backboard, hit the square.
Okay.
What I have them to focus on, and if they're coming from the right, the square above the rim, I have them focusing on the top corner.
Yep.
Not the bottom corner when they're first starting. Once you get where you're shooting an underhand layup, you know how to hit the ball where it's hitting the basket and then going up. So your target isn't as high once you become accustomed to shooting layups. But when you're developing them, you want them to get the ball higher because even if it doesn't hit the very top of that corner, if it hits somewhere maybe almost midway, it's going to hit and it's still going to go up a little and you're going to have more of an opportunity to go in. What I see a lot of is players hitting the ball, hitting the backboard lower so the ball hits the rim before it gets to go up. So they're not understanding. So matter of fact, I had a player last week. It's crazy. I had a player last week and they struggled with layups. I had them to do the target. We went one dribble. We focused on their footwork where they bounced it at the right hand. They bounced it and they're on their left foot at the same time. Bounce and step, catch, 1, 2, and then they go up. Focused on the target. I told them you got to make 5 in a row. We made 5 in a row on one dribble. Had him to go back. Now we're doing 2 dribbles. Same formula. 5 in a row. I moved him back to 3 dribbles. Another 2 just so he could still see that he could do it.
Right.
Blew his mind. He's like, I've never made that many layups in a row.
Wow.
Going fast ever.
Wow.
So then it starts me to think about the process of the different angles because it's widespread. I have players from everywhere that'll tell me, hey, yeah, when I'm playing in the game, if I go here, they'll say, well, I get stuck because I'm at an angle where it's hard to finish the backboard. And then I say, well, why aren't you finishing like that? And they'll give me a look like, well, I didn't even think about that. And they say, yeah, but the coach will get, I say, look, coaches will get on you, but I promise you, if you make that shot, they're not going to say anything because you're making it, they can tell that you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So it's a question I've had discussion, and from some of the coaches, the discussion is, well, that's the shot that they're going to get. And I say, yeah, absolutely, with the way you're running it. But in a sense of, hey, this is the shot you're going to get, when they take that shot away, now you're putting the player in a bad position because they don't know how to adjust and be ready to finish in a way that they need to.
Obviously I've watched a lot of coaches and I hear a lot of coaches and see a lot of coaches, but I hear them say use the backboard, but they never talk about where.
Right.
Never talk about where. So, that's part of the problem as well.
Right.
I can tell you to cross over, but you got to know the when, where's, and the hows.
Right.
Right. And so again, that detailed level of teaching is gonna not only benefit you as a coach, it's definitely gonna take your player to another level.
Yeah.
for me, it's just about not enough detailed instruction.
Yeah, and then you possibly have people who, unfortunately, have never done it in a way that they could teach that certain way. So that's something in itself. Okay, all right. So last thing with my basketball ideology is balancing your jump shot. Right now, if you're coming straight on where it's a catch and shoot or your dribble pull into your jump shot, you normally don't have to worry as much about your balance, unless you're one of those players that really turn their body a lot, right? But when you're coming over screens at a high rate of speed,
yes, sir.
the balance of your jump shot is key. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, you got to fix this, fix this, fix this. But it's simple of understanding how your hips need to be. If you're coming from left to right, you have to step a little bit wider with that left to counterbalance your movement going to the left, and the same thing going to your right. So it's amazing. It continues to. The funny thing is, I shouldn't be amazed with the things that I hear and the things that are not being taught. But it does still amaze me that how I can fix something real simple, whether it's the shots off and it's this and that. So I have them to go through it, and I'll look, and after the first one, I say, oh, it's this. So then I'll show them how to do it, and I'll show them how their body needs to be aligned. And once they get an alignment, their percentage out of, if we do a rep of 10, they were making maybe 3. Now they're making 7 out of 10, just from that quick thing. And the balance is important. So, quick thing. If you're going right to left, you're coming over a screen, whether you go 1-2 or whether you go hop, the left foot has to be a little bit wider when you're going faster to make sure that you're not leaning and drifting. Because leaning and drifting, whether it's to the sides or back, it can kill jump shots. And players don't think that. Same thing coming to the right. That's the first thing is your balance, right? The second part of that balance is where your hips are as you're going up to shoot. And a lot of players don't think about it. And I say, look, your hips don't have to be perfectly at the back, at the goal, but you want to have your hips between the corners of the backboard. If your hips are generally within that area, when you go up to shoot, it's going to feel natural, right?
And I'm glad you touching on this. Like, I can't tell you how many people are coaching and maybe teaching shots or advising people on shooting, and the whole focus is upper body.
Right.
You know, this June, we focused a lot on hips, legs, and feet.
Right.
Hips, legs, and feet. And so I have a pet peeve whenever people shoot the ball and it's short. Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Because you don't have a chance,
right?
And all that is legs. Like,
right.
They have to work. They have to be synchronized,
right?
You know, your lower body and your upper body has got to be synchronized.
Right.
So I will say I feel like we have improved on shooting. I like that our players have bought in. A couple of them have been kind of hard-headed, but once they saw the results,
right? Yeah,
it's been amazing.
Yeah. And that's the thing is the experience and the results. Like I tell them, like, I can't make it up. Like, I don't have some AI computer in here making that shot go in. That's you making the shot right now. Whether you decide to continue, whether you decide to do it regularly.
That's it.
And I tell people the difference between your shots being inconsistent and consistent is being disciplined with the details.
Yes, sir.
If you are disciplined with the details consistently, now you're going to be a consistent shot shooter. Yep. If you're not, then that's fine. But you can't expect that you're going to be a high-level shooter.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's all for the basketball ideology. I hope that helped. If you have questions on either of those, you know, hit me up and I can go through a little detail. I do have some videos out there with some of those things.
Free game today. Whether you are a shooter or not a shooter, today, free game.
All right, so we're going to get into you done lost your damn mind. Now, I'm going to let you present the question because you kind of came up with it right as we were getting ready to air. So hit me with it.
Here we go. T-Mac was on ESPN. And he, they're talking about ring culture. We'll get into that another time. But they're talking about the ring culture and T-Mac's point. I love T-Mac. I think he's a fantastic player, Hall of Famer also. He made the point that he would have won championships, but he just didn't have the opportunity. Then he, mentioned Kobe. When you mention Kobe, I got a problem with you. So he said, if you put him in place of Kobe with Shaq, he would have won a championship. What say you, as you tell me?
I agree with that. I agree with him winning a championship with Shaq. But does he win those two without? he look. Anthony Hardaway would have won a championship with Shaq.
You think so?
Yeah, if they would have stayed together, they were there, right? Mm-hmm. They would have won one, okay? But again, it's without Shaq that you gotta look at. Now, I've always said this, like how do you define a quote unquote Hall of Fame, great and not the greatest of all time, but in there? I always felt like you should be able, in my opinion, you should be able to get to either a conference final or an actual NBA final, if it's basketball. Yep. You should be able to lead your team there. There are so many players that have done that. Yeah. Tracy has never been out of the first round.
Really?
Right. That I
didn't know that.
I'll look it up. But my understanding, and I didn't know it, he's never been out of the first round of the playoffs. Now, when he was with the San Antonio, but he was a bench warmer, he didn't really play. Wow. He got there and they lost. Right. But as the guy leading a team, no. Wow. He never got up. So
I think he would have really come close to winning one when him and Grant Hill went to Orlando and Grant Hill had the ankle injury and never played.
See, I think
I feel like he would have at least got to a conference championship.
I think the thing that was interesting was I thought he had a better chance at Houston with Yao.
But he was hurt.
Okay, so if we say that, then with Grant Hill. And he talks about the fact that with Grant being hurt, but like they were saying, well, look, you were up 3-1 on I think it was Detroit or somebody.
And they lost.
Right?
So wasn't he with Toronto?
Yes.
When Vince Carter went to the conference finals?
Yes.
Oh, but you said
no. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me.
Okay.
Did ever?
Wow, that's interesting.
Reach the second round of the playoffs? Because everything that I've heard suggests that he didn't. Okay. So it said he reached the second round of the playoffs, but only in his 15th season at age 33 with the San Antonio Spurs in 2013. This was the only time in his career that he advanced beyond the first round, right? So, great talent, like super high level great talent. But I can't put somebody who is that dominant of a player, that great, I can't put him up there with anybody, even if he didn't win. Look, to me, if he doesn't win a championship or finals, I still would put him up there. Like I put Charles Barkley up there because Charles took a team to the finals and lost. Right, he lost. But you've never made it out of the first round of the playoffs. You don't even know what it felt like to be in this. We're not talking conference final. We're just talking second round.
I didn't know that.
When you say, could he win with Shaq?
Yeah.
During that span, Hell, I could have won with Shaq. Or at least got us to the finals.
Sacramento teams were tough back then, man. And Portland.
Yeah.
Those teams were tough.
But McGrady spent most of his career in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Like, by the time he got to Houston, he was, he was a little bit more older. He was having problems.
Yeah.
But with Vince Carter, think about it. Toronto, I don't even know if that was before McGrady, but when Vince and AI played,
I think it was before McGrady.
It might have been before, but when he goes to to Orlando, you should at least, because there were a few years where it was like, I remember it was kind of lined up that you thought during McGrady starting to ascend that he might be getting to the finals, right?
Yeah.
So, you could say, okay, yeah, with him moving, if you switch them, yeah, he wins the ship. I don't know if they win 3 in a row. I would say yeah, because that 3-year span, Shaq was the most dominant force ever.
Yeah, but there were also points in that 3-year span where Kobe had to take over.
Right.
When Shaq fouled out.
But McGrady is capable of taking over in spurts. He can take over. Remember 13 or 14 points in like 40 seconds or something?
But in those playoff games, it's heightened.
Yeah, I know. But in that system,
he had the skills though.
Right. In that system, I would have been completely comfortable with him taking over in spurts, like against the Nets and stuff,
right? Because
of the system with Phil Jackson, right? But it's that second run that I don't think he's capable of it like the way Kobe was.
That's a good point.
Like we kind of. So what did you say? Do you say he could win?
I'll say no.
You don't think he could win?
And you proved my point more there by him not ever being out of the first round. I think you can say whatever you want to say, but when you get in those playoffs in the finals, you have to have a totally different mindset. A lot of great players have lost their way.
Right.
Mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Of course, again, I'm only going by what they say. I have a great respect for anybody that performs at a high level in the finals.
Right.
I'm sorry, but an example of a really great player who fails every time in the playoffs, James Harden.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's a mental hurdle. He has not, I hope he does, but he has not gotten over.
Yeah.
It is on his mind, it's in his head, and I just think Tracy McGrady doesn't understand that piece.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like I say, I think they win because I think,
but not 3, huh?
I could see him winning 3 because because it was on Shaq. If it's the same competition that they played, absolutely, because AI didn't have much help that first one, and then the Nets,
AI had no help,
and then the 2 against the Nets it was Philly. Philly, Now the Indiana one, that's something that that would have been the question. But so I would say at least 2 out of the 3, at least. Well, I could say that safely, 2 out of the 3.
As much as I value Tracy McGrady in his game, I'll have to say 1.
Okay.
I have to say 1.
Yeah, because
he's a great player.
Because it was
there was a 5-year span where he couldn't be guarded.
Right.
He could not be guarded.
And I figure in that system, because under Jackson, you needed to have that guy. He tweaked it because of Shaq, but having that guy, he would play the MJ role. So I could see him winning 2 to 3, but it's that second run that I don't think.
Well, you don't even have a top 75 player.
So on your team. I guess it's funny because it kind of makes it seem worse for McGrady because like what Chuck always say that Shaq was riding on Kobe's and Dwayne Wade's coattails. He would have kind of rolled on Shaq's coattails to win those 2 out of the 3 or 3. that second run, nah.
You know what though? Something that we're not giving really credit to. I think Phil Jackson coaching could have probably got him.
Yeah, for that.
I think so.
The first three,
yeah, I think so.
That second three, I don't think he's gonna be able to do. You know, would he have gotten out of the first round with them? Probably. They had a pretty good squad.
He's not gonna win those 2 championships without that.
No, I don't.
Especially against Boston.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Just, I would hope that he grew enough, but I just don't think his mentality, right? So those 3, and it's funny because he says, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, did he say you replace me with Kobe? I win those 3 with Shaq, and I win those 2 without Shaq. Did he say that, or did he just say?
He didn't, no. He didn't say that.
See?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're that confident to me, it's like, man, you replace me. Yeah. I win. I have 5.
But I think his love for Kobe, he didn't want to go there.
But it's not really,
because people would have saw that as very disrespectful.
But you've already thrown disrespect by saying you move him there. So basically, to me, what you're saying is those first 3. I mean, I don't know what he's saying, but if I hear it, I'd have to hear the whole thing. It kind of comes across as you could plug me in, and I'm just as good with Shaq as Kobe was. Meaning, almost like it's kind of a plug and play. Shaq was the guy. We know that.
Well, I just think he was more so giving so many props to Shaq that Shaq does not get than maybe throwing shade to Kobe. That's how I saw it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
Because
he loves Kobe.
Yeah, I have to look at it.
Yeah.
But like on the outside without looking or actually hearing, and then if I hear, I'm not 100% sure if I understand the true meaning. Yeah. But that would be, well, if you're that bad, then you should say you replace me. I think maybe you don't say I will. You say I think I could have won 5, right? Yeah. But when you just focus on the first 3 with Shaq.
Yeah, it makes that's a bad. I didn't see it that way.
Well, what about the other 2? You don't think you can win the other 2?
That's a great. I just think he really, if he mentions the other 2, he disrespects Kobe. I think.
No, but if you say I think I could have 4 or 5, I could have between 3 and 5 championships, right? Because you could easily say, you know, well, hey, the Indiana one was more on Kobe than Shaq. Yeah. And let's say the one against Boston,
the Nets was
you know, or whatever. Yeah. So you give yourself that props because you feel confident in yourself, that doesn't necessarily mean you're saying that you're disrespecting Kobe.
But the way ESPN said it to him, it would have been a diss to Kobe.
But then that's when you take the time to make sure that you voice how you feel. Because that's the reason why a lot of people are doing podcasts.
Right.
Because they're tired of people asking questions, chopping it up, and putting it out there.
Right.
So on a podcast, you can talk as long as you want, and you can get now. If you mess up and put it all out there, and then you can come back and say, I don't like the way I said that. You can always come back and say, hey, I said this. I need to make sure I clarify some things. Right. But you know, the unfortunate part is we'll never know. We do know that he never got out of the first round. So that was something that I was like, I didn't even know. I was like, he had to get out of the first round when he was with Houston and Ya, even though he was hurt more.
That is shocking to me.
Right?
That's shocking.
Because he was like, yeah, now we got our big 3 with Ya, and we're matched up. We're going to be able to take on the Lakers because they had a squad there.
Yeah, how many? And I'm just asking. I'm not trying to absolve him from that, but how much of that? What kind of percentage of that is on the coach, kind of getting you over that hump?
I don't want to hear that.
No.
If you are a superstar, if you're a Hall of Famer, you should be on there. So we can table that for another day.
For sure,
we can table it for another day.
Gets the point.
So look, I don't even know if there was an actual argument. We kind of went on each other's side and argued a little bit.
Points, man.
So, look, we're going to end it with number 100. This is number 100. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe we take a break. Maybe we back on next week. Who knows? I got some ideas for some things I'm looking at doing. So we just have to wait and see. I appreciate you guys being involved and commenting and, you know, telling me about my potty mouth and all of that. But we will make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and comment. Let us know. Continue to let us know what you like, what you don't like. Some things you don't like, I might just be like, oh well, that's a you problem. But for the most part, I'll look at it. You know, yeah, I always try to improve and stuff. So we're gonna end it like we always do. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. We out.
Peace.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah, yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.